Judah Ben-Hur is a Jewish prince from Palestine whose life takes a dark turn after his best friend betrays him.
Let them go! They have nothing to do with it!
And a false accusation condemns both him and his family. Made a galley slave, he ends up saving his commander's life and gets adopted as his son, becoming a Roman citizen and a wealthy man, all while never forgetting or forgiving the one who betrayed him and those he left behind in Jerusalem. The movie starts with the narrator telling us that in the year of our Lord, Judea had been under Roman rule for nearly a century. In the 7th year of Augustus Caesar's reign, an imperial decree ordered every Jew to return to their birthplace to be counted and taxed. The converging roads led many to the gates of their capital, Jerusalem, the troubled heart of Judea. The ancient city was dominated by the Antonia fortress, seat of Roman power, and by the Great Golden Temple, a visible sign of an intimate and unpredictable faith. Even while obeying Caesar's will, the people clung to their ancient heritage, always remembering their prophet's promise that one day a redeemer would be born among them to bring salvation and perfect freedom. Soldiers question people arriving at the city, asking for their names and hometowns. Joseph arrives with Mary. During the starry night, can 3 wise men observe a star that shines brighter than all others, illuminating the place where the king is born. The wise men bring gifts for the newborn king in a manger in the stable. People gather to see the child, and a man blows a shofar to let everyone know the king has arrived. Soldiers leave from Nazareth to Jerusalem. Someone asks Joseph if he isn't impressed by the soldiers. He replies, he's seen Romans before. When asked where his son is, he says he's in the hills, because his son must attend to his father's business. When asked why he isn't working, Joseph says he is working. The soldiers arrive at the palace, welcoming Messala and passing command to him. He says his childhood dream was to command this garrison, and now he's the commander. Messala mentions he'd forgotten Jerusalem's heat and remembers his father. Sextus says his father is well remembered, an excellent governor.
Father is well remembered. Fine governor.
Messala says he requested to be sent to Jerusalem. Sextus explains how people have changed since Messala was a child. They don't want to pay taxes. There's rational resentment against Rome. And according to their religion, they're drunk on religion and destroy images of the gods and even the emperor. Messala asks if they're punished, and Sextus says yes, when they're caught. Messala wants to meet with the leaders. Sextus says there's no one he can put his finger on, and there are strange forces like the Messiah story. Messala says he knows. There was already that promise when he was a kid. Sextus tells him it'll be a king of the Jews who'll lead everyone to some kind of anti-Roman paradise, and there's a wild man in the desert called John who baptizes people in water, and a carpenter's son who does magic. Messala says there's always some clown wanting to make noise, but Sextus interrupts, saying this time it's different. He says God is near, and it's actually pretty deep. Messala says he's too far from Rome and needs to return, rest, bathe, and stay by the sea to forget that God is in every man, and that the emperor is unhappy. He wants Judea to be the most educated and obedient province, and ordered him to restore order, which Messala wants to obey. Sextus says he can do it. A soldier calls them, saying a Jew claiming to be Prince Judah Ben-Hur is waiting. Messala says the country belonged to Judah before it belonged to the Romans. Sextus says Judah is the richest man in Jerusalem. Messala adds that he's the head of one of Judea's finest families, and they were like brothers as children. He tells Sextus you fight an idea with another idea. Messala and Judah had grown up together, like brothers. In Jerusalem's streets they ran, fought with wooden swords, dreamed of glory and adventures, remember stories from their youth, laugh as if time hadn't passed. In a torchlit room, they drink wine and talk about Rome and Jerusalem, but gradually, the conversation takes a more serious turn. Messala reveals his mission. He needs the support of local noble families to identify Jewish rebels conspiring against the empire. He wants Judah to help him, giving names, denouncing neighbors and allies. Judah is silent for a moment. He says he loves Messala like a brother, but can't betray his people.
I'm against violence.
Messala stares at him and says the empire doesn't forgive, and whoever isn't with them is against them. But after an argument, Messala changes the subject, asking when he can visit Judah's mother and sister. That night, years of friendship shatter like a broken vase. The glow of childhood fades, and the shadow of tragedy begins to form. Messala visits Judah's mother and sister. They remember moments there and enjoy the conversation. Messala tells about his life as a soldier in Rome. Judah takes Messala to show a horse that Messala really likes. Judah gives the horse as a gift to his friend. Messala asks about the conversation they had. Judah says some agree with him. They argue, and Messala says the emperor is watching them and this is his chance to show what he can do, and asks Judah to help in exchange for a high position. Judah says he believes in his people's past and future, and that they'll rise against Rome. Messala says there's only one reality these days. Judah says Rome is an affront to God, and Rome is strangling his people. Messala pressures him, saying either Judah is with him or against him. Judah says if that's the choice, he's against Messala. Messala leaves and Judah watches. Judah's sister asks why he left, and Judah says he doesn't know why, and they pray for dinner. Judah says they'll never see him again, because he wanted to use him to kill his people. Simonides arrives at Judah's house with gifts and good news that the caravans have arrived. Judah says once a year his friend makes him richer. They talk about Simonides' daughter who asks for Judah's blessing for her marriage. Esther comes quietly. Judah asks if she's anxious to marry. She says it's her father's will. Judah asks about Esther's husband. His name is David, son of Matthias, and he's a free man, a merchant. Judah will give Esther her freedom as a gift. He asks if she loves him. She says she'll learn to love him. Judah gives permission for the marriage. During the night, Judah goes to Esther and asks what she's doing. She replies, she's thanking God. He asks if she remembers the house. She says her father brought her sometimes when she was little, and she was always happy, except once. When Judah and Messala were hunting and brought him back injured, she touched him and asked God not to let him die. She says she never felt like a slave and now it's hard to feel free. Judah says that in Solomon's days when he saw one among the slaves that caught his eye, he could choose among them. The conversation takes another turn. Judah says if Esther wasn't engaged, he'd give her a kiss. He takes her ring and she asks him to wear it until he finds a woman to marry. They kiss. A few days later, Jerusalem receives a visit from the new Roman governor. Messala receives the new governor and they walk to see the city. People watch. From the terrace of their palace, Judah, Miriam, and Tirzah watch the official procession. Soldiers march. Banners wave. People bow, even with reluctant hearts. Tirzah leans over the railing to see better. Accidentally, she touches a loose tile that falls from the roof onto the procession. The governor isn't hurt, but the incident is seen as an insult. Messala, seeing the chance to crush Judah, wastes no time. He orders the house invaded, arrests Judah's mother and sister, and accuses the Jewish prince of attempted assassination. Judah tries to say it was an accident, but it's not accepted. He tells Messala it was a mistake and explains how it happened, but everyone is taken away. Judah is brought before Messala, still in chains. He begs, telling Messala that he knows him and knows it was an accident. He asks Messala not to let his mother and sister's lives be destroyed. With a gesture, he condemns his childhood friend to the galleys, the cruelest fate for a free man, to row chained in warships until death. Judah tries to escape by pushing some soldiers down the stairs and hiding. He manages to attack one of the soldiers and runs to hide. He grabs a weapon and goes to where Messala is and threatens him, asking where his mother and sister are. He says they're within the walls and won't die, but will have a sentence. Judah says he can't do this to a family he knows and orders him to release them. He says he's not a murderer. Messala says he knows, but he asked his friend for help to govern Judea, and he wouldn't help and orders Judah to beg him. Judah raises the spear to attack Messala, but he says if he's killed, Judah's mother and sister will be killed. Judah says he'll pray for Messala to live until he returns. He's taken by the soldiers. Simonides and Esther go to the palace to ask Messala to withdraw Judah's accusation. Esther says he knows Judah would never do this. Messala asks the soldiers to keep them there until he can interrogate them. The walk to the port is long and harsh. Prisoners are dragged through the desert under the scorching sun. Hunger and thirst consume them. Judah, exhausted, falls to his knees. He asks soldiers for water, but is pushed violently. Arriving at the well, soldiers ask for water first and order them to give it to the slaves, and say they won't give water to Judah, who falls and asks God for help. At that moment, a silent figure approaches. It's a simple carpenter, in light robes, with a serene face. He lifts a bucket and offers water to Judah. One of the soldiers repeats not to give water to Judah, but the man looks at him, and he goes silent. His eyes meet the prisoners, and in his gaze there's infinite compassion, a mysterious force that gives hope. The soldiers, strangely, don't stop him. Judah drinks and for an instant feels reborn. He doesn't know that man's name, but will never forget the look. This man is Jesus of Nazareth. He leaves looking at Jesus, and they continue the path to the galleys. The Roman ship where Judah is thrown is a floating hell. Men naked from the waist up, chained to benches, row to the sound of heavy drums. Each beat marks the rhythm of slavery. Sweat runs. The whip cuts the skin of those who fail. The ship's commander is Quintus Arrius, a severe but observant man. He goes to the rowers and observes them until he reaches Judah. He asks what service he's done. Judah continues rowing with hate in his eyes. Quintus observes Judah, impressed with his resistance and dignity, even amid misery. During the night, Judah goes to Quintus's quarters, who wakes up startled. He went there to introduce himself. Quintus says he's a fighter by profession and entertains himself training fighters. He says it's much better than living in that hold. Judah says he won't be there for long, and he's sure God won't let him die there. Quintus says it's strange to believe an existence has a purpose, and a sane man would have learned to live without it long ago. Judah asks him what he lost, and he orders Judah to return to the oar. A soldier tells Quintus an enemy is coming for them. Roman ships face pirates at sea. The crash of vessels, the fire of arrows, the screams of the wounded fill the air. Arius's ship is hit. The hull breaks. In the chaos, Judah manages to free himself from the chains. Quintus, thrown into the sea, sinks with heavy armor. Judah dives and saves him from death. He swims hard against the waves and brings the commander back. Both manage to reach a piece of wood and float until rescued by another Roman ship, grateful for his life. On the rescue ship, Quintus asks why Judah helped him. Judah replies that life is sacred, and even being a slave, he's still a man. Quintus takes Judah to Rome. Arriving in Rome, Quintus introduces Judah as his protege to high society. At the palace during a banquet, a senator asks if it's true that Judah saved Quintus's life. Quintus replies not just his life, but also his honor, and says Judah has the fiber of a Roman man, despite Jewish blood. In his quarters, Quintus calls Judah and says he lost his son in a past battle, and that Judah made him want to live again, and asks Judah to be his son, heir to his name and blood. Judah accepts, but says he'll never forget where he comes from. Quintus then says he'll be both Jewish and Roman, and will be his son Ben-Hur. Judah is adopted by Arius as a son. He becomes a Roman citizen, receives education, military training, participates in chariot races and nobility banquets. From slave, he transforms into a free and respected man. But even amid luxury, his heart remains restless. He doesn't forget his mother, his sister, nor Messala's betrayal. Inside himself, he cultivates a flame of revenge. Years later, when he feels strong enough, Judah returns to Jerusalem. Back in his land, Judah goes to his old house looking for his mother and sister, but finds Simonides, who gets emotional seeing Judah because he thought he'd never see him again. Judah asks where his mother and sister are and if they're alive. Simonides doesn't answer. Judah reunites with Esther, Simonides' daughter. She says she prayed for Judah during this time. Judah says he's back, but not to rest yet. The love between them naturally resurfaces, but Esther perceives the darkness still inhabiting Judah's heart. She tries to convince him to forgive, to move forward. She tells Judah that hate breeds more hate, and if he lives for revenge, he'll lose himself. Judah says as long as a Messala breathes, his soul won't have peace. Gradually, he discovers the truth about his family. His mother and sister, after years in prison, were freed but contracted leprosy, an incurable and feared disease. Ashamed, they live hidden in the Valley of Lepers, away from everyone. Esther, knowing this, decides not to tell Judah immediately to spare him. Messala, now powerful in Jerusalem, receives a messenger. The letter is sealed with Quintus Arius's name. He reads, and his expression changes.
Judah.
Moments later, the two meet. The tension is palpable. The reunion isn't of friends, but mortal rivals. Messala says, "You're alive. I thought you had died." Judah replies, "Rome failed and so did you." Messala says it was justice that Judah's family conspired against the empire. Judah says it's a lie, and it was an accident. And Messala condemned them to establish himself in Rome. Judah says one day he'll prove he's the strongest, and it'll be in Messala's own arena. Back at Simonides' house, Judah is consumed by the idea of revenge. Esther tells Judah to let go of the hate because it's not what God wants from him. Judah says he doesn't ask God to guide him, just to let him fight. Esther lowers her eyes, sad. The opportunity for revenge comes when the great chariot race in Jerusalem is announced. Judah is taken to the valley where Sheikh Ilderim lives, a rich Arab who owns the fastest horses in the region. The sheikh, eccentric and full of life, receives Judah with suspicion. Ilderim asks if a Jewish prince knows anything about horses. Judah replies he's raced before in Rome with Messala. Ilderim says, then Judah knows Messala's style and says he needs someone who'll win, and Judah needs a chance for revenge. Judah observes the 4 white horses imposing, neighing with vigor. Judah says they're beautiful as the wind and strong as fury. At the palace, Ilderim confronts Messala in public. Ilderim says his driver will challenge his in the arena, 4 white horses against anyone who dares face them. Messala laughs with a forced smile. When he discovers the driver is Judah, his look fills with contained rage. Messala asks Judah if that's how he wants to die, then let it be before everyone. Let Rome be witness. The arena is packed, thousands of voices echo, flags wave, the sound of trumpets announces the beginning, 12 chariots line up, dust rises, the race starts violently, horses collide, wheels break, and drivers fall and are crushed. Messala rams his chariot against Judah several times, trying to destroy him. The crowd screams, the sound of hooves rumbles like thunder. At the decisive moment, Messala forces Judah against the arena wall. But Judah, with skill and courage, resists. Messala loses control, his chariot shatters, and he's brutally dragged by the horses until he falls, mortally wounded. Judah crosses the finish line as victor. The people cheer, shout his name, celebrate the hero. But inside him, there's no joy, just the weight of a fulfilled destiny. Wounded, Messala is taken to his bed, body torn apart but still alive. Judah visits him. Their eyes meet one last time. With a weak voice, Messala says Judah won the race, but his mother and sister live as lepers, away from the world. That's Judah's true defeat. Messala dies consumed by his own hate. Judah, learning the truth, is taken by deep pain. He goes to the Valley of Lepers and sees Miriam and Tirzah, reduced to shadows of what they were. His heart breaks. Judah kneels beside his mother. She raises her trembling hand, touching her son's face. Miriam says, "Judah, you came back." He holds her hand, tears streaming down his face. Judah swears he'll avenge everything, but now can only embrace them. Tirzah, still fragile, smiles softly, her eyes full of hope mixed with pain. Tirzah says Judah is her strength and always has been. He cries out against God, against Rome, against fate. Esther tries to console him, but he only feels emptiness. Jerusalem is in turmoil. The carpenter from Nazareth has been arrested and condemned to death. Jesus carries the cross. The sky darkens, and the crowd watches with a mix of fear and reverence. Judah watches in silence. The weight of the scene touches his soul. He kneels, not in fear, but in respect and recognition of the greatness of life and mercy. Judah says not for revenge, but for forgiveness, he found true strength. Christ's crucifixion is shown with intensity. Judah sees that same man who once gave him water in the desert, carrying a cross through the streets, whipped by soldiers, crowned with thorns. He tries to approach, but the crowd prevents him. However, their eyes meet again, and in that look, even amid pain, Judah sees compassion, forgiveness, love. He follows to Golgotha, where he witnesses the crucifixion. The sky darkens, wind rises, and when Jesus dies, Judah feels something break inside him. The hate that consumed him begins to dissolve. At that same instant, a miracle happens. His mother and sister are cured of leprosy. Christ's sacrifice not only changed the world, but also returned life and hope to his family. Judah returns home with Miriam, Tirzah, and Esther. They cry and embrace, but now not from pain, but gratitude. Judah, the man who sought revenge, finds peace in forgiveness. He understands his journey wasn't about defeating Messala, nor about winning a race, but about finding his soul again. The prince who lost everything finds himself at the foot of the cross. The narrator says that's how Judah Ben-Hur found more than revenge. He found life, faith, and forgiveness. For the man who learns to forgive is truly free. The sun sets over Jerusalem, illuminating the city and the empty arena, symbol of past glory and future hope. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and your comment. See you in the next videos.